Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is October 2nd, and today I'm joined by with Beth, Andy, and I'm sure we may have a couple people joining us, maybe not later today. But today is a pretty amazing. Well, I think it's amazing because I'm running it, but it's using Claude Code for business purposes, specifically in a IDE or in your terminal. Now, you probably think, I don't know what he just said, or it's going to get complicated, but it's actually not. And what I want to show you is when people hear about Claude Code, maybe Codex, IDEs, you're like, oh, that's purely for coding. But while a majority of work, yes, it is coding, there's a lot of other stuff you can do too. So what I wanted to do is kind of work through, do the entire screen here, and kind of work through how you would do it. How would you use it for everyday productivity and work, and actually literally give yourself a new way of working, kind of a new operating system. So let's start there. Did my screen share? No. I'm trying to share mine. There it is. Okay.
So we just have to move it onto the screen.
So first, what I want to show is go into to install it. I would go to, actually, before you install this, I would say, hey, if you don't, go and get yourself either Cursor or Visual Code Studio. Doesn't really matter. Both are free to download, and Cursor is literally a fork of Visual Code Studio, which most people use to code and literally create. I have a new instance here of Visual Code Studio, but I've used a couple things with Claude Code. So I'm going to interact back and forth, kind of how to get started and how to not. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. Let's start in Cursor. I would normally get it in Cursor because with Cursor, you have the Cursor agents if you actually do want to develop. And, oh, Andy or Beth, please stop me at any time because I can't see you, to just kind of, if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast or anything like that. Okay.
Thanks. We will. No worries.
So, and also if anybody in the audience has any questions or suggestions or so on, yeah, definitely open to that. So again, download Visual Code Studio, download Cursor, and then what you want to do, there's a couple of ways you can do this. So you can put an extension in, right? So you can have the extension of Claude Code, which I think I already installed it, or I didn't install it. I uninstalled it here, but you can install it here. There's a couple other coding agents that you could also use, like Klein, which is not a bad one. And then obviously OpenAI's Codex. And I think that one's installed it here, but I actually recommend you not to do the extension, but actually install it in your terminal. And the reason why you want to install it in your terminal is more so because the ability to do a little bit more with it, what I find, versus the extension, especially when you want to manipulate some of your files in your computer, on your local drives too. So what you do is you go into Claude Code, just copy this and open a new terminal. I like to put it on the right side. It usually starts at the bottom here, but I like to put it on the right so I can have full access to it. And then all you do, hold on, let me just exit out of here. And yeah, you just install it. Now, before you do, what I would recommend is I would create a testing environment. So like you can see here, I created a test environment where you want your any files or whatever you want to manipulate or you want to test out first, I would highly recommend that. Put it just like for me, I open. So what you do is you go into cursor, file, open folder, and you open that specific folder that you would have created as the test environment. Just remember that if you give Claude Code, once you install it, and once you're in that folder, any subfolders Claude Code has access to, which is a good thing and a not so great thing if you think about it, because you giving Claude Code access to all those things, especially when you start providing instructions to it. So now that you've, any questions so far?
Terminal meaning on your computer, local hard drive, right?
Yeah. So why you want to put it, why you want to put it in your cursor and develop or your VSC, you can literally go to your terminal like here and install Claude Code directly in your terminal. I wouldn't do that because it's much harder to see which folder you're in. Then you're kind of, it's easier as a visual for those who don't code and who are wary of putting stuff directly in your terminal. I would recommend doing it in the cursor terminal before going it into your actual computer terminal.
And you're using cursor and VS Code kind of interchangeably.
Yeah, right, so I'm using VS Code, oopsies, kind of as a, where to go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, what the, where to, I hate when Mac does this. It switches, I had a very specific order for this. So yeah, so when you have cursor or VSC, I'm just using VSCs as sort of like my example of, you know, for today, but kind of, yeah, today I'm interchanging. You just need to put it in one and you'll have all the functionalities of it.
Great.
Okay. So remember, open your folder that you want to be in first, and then install Claude Code. So essentially Claude Code will be working in that folder. So I put it here. I put it here, and I put it here. So as you can see, the files are exactly the same. So a couple things that you may want to look through. So the moment you've installed it, all you need to do is hit Claude, and then you're in, and now you have Claude. So if you're installing it today, if you go to /model, you can see the model that you're using. And I didn't upgrade to Max. I downgraded from Max because I wasn't finding the need for anymore. But if you want to upgrade to Max, you can run Opus 4.1. But I think Sonnet 4.5 right now is pretty amazing.
Great. And that Max isn't Macintosh plural. It's MAX, the level of cloud subscription.
Yes. And Claude Code right now is tied to your account. So it's unfortunate because you get rate limited from it. And it's just what it is. Okay. So as you get to Claude Code, a couple of things that you want to look at. You can see here, you have a question mark. You can see the commands that you want to develop. I think the most use for most people, the use would be the / command, and then be able to add new directories, background tasks, config. There's quite a lot. Depends on what your use case is. So, but today, I just want to go into I want to go into MCPs. So for example, here, the only one I've installed in this Claude Code, in this cursor environment, is Zapier. But you can install others, and I'll show you that in a second, which makes everything pretty amazing. Here,
okay, my first question on that is, when I connect an MCP server, are those free access, or do I have to have a subscription to Zapier, for instance?
Okay,
Whereas
so let's say, for example, I think everyone here knows Tableau, right?
know what it
Sorry,
is.
I can't
Yeah.
see your faces, so I'm trying. Okay.
Yes.
Just like that. Can't see your faces. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna move this into another screen here so I can see people's faces and see what I'm actually presenting on, which is crazy. Okay, so this is the amazing thing about MCPs right now. It's literally the Wild West. So Tableau is a analytics tool. You know what? Let's make it even more simple. Let's go Google Analytics, right? So Google Analytics MCP. Now, two ways you can do this, and you can even do this in your Claude desktop, right? So I'm showing you two ways you can do this, both for Claude Code and your desktop. The first way, and probably the most safest way you want to do at the moment, is go through a gateway like a Zapier, just so it protects you. Because what I can do, let's say Google Analytics MCP, as you can see here, there are a bunch of MCPs that people have created. You can, in Pipedream, tons in GitHub of people creating their own Google Analytics MCP servers. And what, I'm not even going to go to the Google one, the official one. I'm going to go to this one. And then what you'll see is the ability to install it either in Claude Code or install it in your Claude desktop, right? So there's two ways you can do it. Now, if you're uncomfortable going to GitHub and installing it this way, which I'll show you in a second, the easier way is to go to Zapier MCP. Essentially, I have Claude Code here, but yeah, so for Claude Code, you can configure it, and then you can just add a tool. So the tool would be Google Analytics. And then you can see it here. And then what you can see is all the
tools. So you have a subscription to Zapier? This is available to anybody.
It kind of sucks. Zapier had a beta for MCPs until September 18th. So before September 18th, you were enabled 300 MCP calls. But now you are enabled, I think, 100 limited MCP calls, because they moved everyone over to, you actually have to pay. So now it counts. It's not a separate entity. It's counts as your part of your tasks. So I think the $20 a month Zapier account gives you 750 tasks. So if you run Zaps and this, and I believe this counts as 2. So you only get 300 MCP calls, which kind of sucks. But if you don't use it that much, or you only use it a couple times a month, it's actually not a bad deal. Because if you think about it, you get access to all of Zapier's connections. So whether it's Google Analytics, Tableau, Power BI, Asana, Salesforce, HubSpot, you have access. So for example, Salesforce. Now this is kind of strange because Salesforce is kind of quirky, and I know a lot of companies have this. If you think about it, and this is probably a good topic to chat on, all the SaaS companies, if what I'm showing you here from an MCP side, what is their incentive to allow Cursor, whatever agent you prefer, whether you use Cursor, VSC, Claude Code, Claude Desktop, or ChatGPT, what is their incentive to allow your agent to go into their system and you not going to the system? So it's no longer you who is going into their environment. It's literally, quote unquote, your agent extracting information and out. So it's like, how does that fit into their plan? And what's funny is if I go to Salesforce MCP, now you still, most of these MCPs here, like a Salesforce connectors, you still need the authentication to log in. So you still have to have Salesforce. You have to buy Salesforce. But again, what you can do with your agent is quite a lot. Anyway, so let's just continue with Zapier here. So you can integrate as many tools as you want as with all the Zaps, all the integrations that Zapier has. Now, so how you do that? So for example, here in my Claude Code, I'd have Google Drive. You can have Outlook. You can have Gmail. You can have Sheets. Whatever it is you have here. The moment you have it connected in your MCP, where'd it go again? In your Claude Code, because you have Zapier connected, you can now use Claude Code to call any of those tools and do it all at once. So here, an example would be something simple. So I'm using a tool called Whisperflow. It's just faster for me than typing. Hey, can you send an email to Jeff that I'll be late? Actually, can you send an email to can you draft an email in my Outlook to tell Jeff that I'll be late? Yes, and then I'll be like, Jeff at 0260.a. So sometimes you have to prompt it. It's like, as you can see here, it's going to use Zapier, Microsoft Outlook. Here's the instructions. And then what I like about it in the cursor environment versus the terminal environment, in the terminal environment, you actually have to put planning and permission mode on or off. Here, planning mode is automatically on. When I mean planning mode is you can set Claude Code to execute automatically. So you don't even have to say, do you want to proceed? It'll just go do it. I would highly suggest you put planning mode on so you know what it actually is going to be doing before you execute. And it automatically does this in Cursor and in VSC. So definitely worth it. So let's say, yes, I want to proceed with that. And because it's using Zapier, right, it's now using one of my Zaps or two of them. And then so what we can do is I'm going to move this. I'm going to go into my email, go into drafts, and there it is, right? Bang. So you can essentially, through MCP, leverage that. Now, I'm hoping most of you are starting to think, wait a second, if I can do this, I can do, and you can do multiple things, right? So it's like, hey, how about this? Can you draft an email in my Outlook to tell Jeff that I'm late? And then also send that message in Slack to the AI idea output channel. So now, again, going through Zapier's MCP, you have the ability to send to do multiple instructions all at the same time. Although I think I don't have Slack installed in, yeah, I don't have Slack. Where'd it go? Yeah, I don't have Slack installed in here. And that's okay. That's like what I do. Hold on. Let's add that right now. Oh, crap. If I add that, I have to restart the entire thing. So, forget that. Yeah, it's just, you just have to remember what you've installed or not. But you can put multiple of things in. So, no, I do not want to proceed.
And when you were checking what you installed, were you checking that installation in your VS Code or tools you had attached to Claude?
Sorry, say that again.
When you were checking what you had installed, were those tools you had given Claude access to through Claude?
Yes.
Or okay.
Oh no, so the what I'm checking is, where did it go? Okay, there it is. I keep, like, so many tabs are open. So yeah, so when you go into here, right, so you have Claude Code, you just check what you have, right? Now, here's the difference between a third-party MCP built or a native one, for example, Google Analytics, versus one that Zapier has. So let's go take a look at Google Analytics. When I want to add a tool, let's go back to Google Analytics. When you click this, you see all the tool calling that your agent has access to. So essentially, Claude Code has access to these 4 capabilities. But if you go into MCP, I'm gonna go to this one. What you sometimes find is the people who build third party have better or there's more tool calling that they put into their MCP that your agent can use versus the Zapier one. So you have to figure out which of these has the better tool calling. It depending on what your use case is, right? If you're just simply wanting to extract data, let's say in Google Analytics, then the Zapier one should have most, if not all. And then I would actually then just go into the actual native Google Analytics MCP, because they probably have all the functionalities you do. But again, it's very like SaaS tool by SaaS tool by SaaS tool, right? If I go Asana MCP, you can have like Asana's native one, or you can go into the third party one and be like, hey, let's see what the third party one has, what allows me to do. And this person put all the tool calling, right? So these are all the tool calls that your agent essentially has access to and can do, which is quite extensive. Then if I compare it to Zapier's MCP and say, hey, what can Asana do in Zapier? What is the tool calling it can do? And it's quite okay, but it seems to me this one has a little bit more, and you have to find out which one you want. So that's where kind of this wild, wild west is still all over the place. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the MCP so far? And remember, like, there's a lot of MCPs, like Brave MCP. You can give it the ability to do web searches, and then you can do a whole, like, there's so many depending on your use case. Just like Firecrawl if you want to do web scraping. On ChatGPT Pulse, one of the combos that I recommended, because I have MCP use as one of my Pulse topics, is you combine Google Analytics with Firecrawl MCP. So those two, and what you do is if you are comparing your business to a competitor, you have Firecrawl crawl the competitor site and then use Google Analytics against your site and then do the comparisons and see what you're missing and what not. I thought that was a really neat combo that you could do. So these are the things, like, you can do a combination of internal and external tasks. Really, the imagination is yours, and how you would use it for your business.
Okay, let me.
Very cool.
Can I summarize where we've come to this point? And you correct me if I'm wrong about any part of this. So you've showed us how to first get Cursor downloaded on your machine, or VSCode, whichever one you want to use, and then install Claude Code in that environment, which automatically gives Claude Code access to your computer's terminal through Cursor.
Yes,
but
when you do that, this is why I say, hey, put it in a folder that you want to test it first. Because if I put it into my main, like, MacBook 3, like, higher folder, it has access to everything underneath it. So because in the same thing in your terminal, but because this is kind of just like, hey, I want to for those who I just want to test it out, see all the things I can do with it, I would recommend that, just because then you're protecting yourself. Because remember, what you're doing right now is most people don't go into their terminals at all, so don't know like, hey, what am I doing here? And then you're essentially having an AI go into your computer and start manipulating things.
So when you say put it in, you mean cursor. Like when you install cursor, put cursor in a test environment folder.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, you can. So in cursor, what's really neat about it is you can open cursor and you can open any folder. So you open any folder, it can open any folder in my computer at all, any folder. And then with cursor, you can start manipulating, you can start working in there.
Yeah.
So if you're working on code, obviously you want a folder that you're going to put all your documents in.
So then you're saying what you want to do then is install Claude Code in
Correct.
the cursor instance,
yes,
in a folder, and then cursor has access to Claude
Correct.
Code through that separated folder, but the permissions are, hierarchy is not corrupted so that it gives Claude Code access to everything.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you may want to, but I would highly recommend just, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't do that.
Okay. And then we moved on to, okay, we want to give Claude Code some tools that I can invoke from this / method here in the Claude Code panel on the right that you're just showing. And one of the fastest and easiest ways to do that is to just give it access to the Zapier MCP server, because that gives then an access to thousands. I think it's literally 3,000 different connections that Zapier has created. So virtually anything that you want to call on through Claude Code to add functionality to your desktop is there for you by just doing one MCP server install. Otherwise, if you want to get richer ones, you can go to GitHub or just search in Google for various MCP servers, and you'll find it.
Yes.
And Greg had a question about are MCP servers free, or do they cost to use, or is it?
So it's free. Like, so if you don't want to go the Zapier route, totally understandable, because sometimes it's weird, because essentially what your Claude Code is doing is having to go through Zapier and then call the tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's always a bunch of friction on that. So let's say, for example, let's take Asana. Instead of going through Zapier and burning your credits, if you already have an Asana account, why would you then use Zapier than paying more? Like, it doesn't make sense. So in that case, you can just go to, let's say here, copy this. I don't use Asana, so you would need your access token, but it's really easy to get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You use Claude to be like, hey, how do I get my Asana token?
Yeah.
And you can get it. Once you have it, so obviously copy this, add your Asana token, and put it right into, just install it right in. So now you have your Claude Code has access to Asana. And again, you can do this for as any SaaS tool you want. So you don't have to go through the Zapier method, but with Zapier, it's all in one.
Right. And when you're saying copy this and those sorts of things, you're in GitHub looking at an MCP server for Asana, and that just came from a search.
And remember though, there's a couple things, and this is high, especially when you're in your terminal. When you go into GitHub, you have no clue what this is doing. Like, who built this? Sure, it could get, it's fine. But you also have to be very, very wary about like security risks, such as a prompt injection. So what one company did was, and this was just a security measure, like a test, and they wanted to see, some person gave MCP access to their Google Calendar, and it worked, right? It called and was able to access the calendar. But in your calendar, it also, what they did is they put a prompt injection in there. So every single time it went into your calendar, it did the function, but it went into your email and extracted email and sent it. And you can't see that instruction. So when you go into a third-party MCP, if anyone prompt injects by intentionally or unintentionally, your tool call could also be doing something in addition to what you initially wanted it to do. So every MCP action or tool call is like scraping your computer for something, or whatever the prompt injection is, then it would actually execute that. So you have to be very careful when you do the third party route. Now there's like registries and your ranking systems and all that. Again, the safest route is probably through Zapier, but if you start going to third party, it's like there's awesome opportunities there because you have more opportunities for tool calling, and sometimes Zapier doesn't have what you're looking for. And if they do, you got to be careful about, very, very careful about what you're putting in. And this is why I was looking into a tool called MCP Manager. So what this does is sort of like Zapier, but purely for security. So what you can do is, let's say you put Asana, Power BI, Tableau, Salesforce, a whole suite, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever the MCPs servers you put in, this will regulate it and ensure that the only things that it's doing is what the specific tool call is, and you set it. The unfortunate thing with this is it's $2,500 minimum per month. So you better be doing a lot of MCP calling. But for some companies, and I think obviously they're targeting enterprise, it's well worth it.
Boy, that $20 of Zapier just got starting to look better and better here.
Yeah, well, that is. But then again, like if you find 5 really good MCP servers and you're like, and it's for enterprise, right? It's not just your local driver. You're using MCP for like your 10,000 employee accounts. You're like, yeah, $2,500 is. So I want to look at it this way. Let's just say the task is reporting. And I think we all know reporting is the biggest pain in the ass for any company every single month, every single quarter, because somebody, it's either you or your agency or your team, one of your team members has to go into every single one of these tools, or you've bought an aggregator, but you still have to check and extract all this data. And some people, extract it as a Excel doc, a CSV, whatever it is. Somebody has to extract it, and you only have usually start this process at the beginning of the month or 2 weeks before it's due. And you have to put the numbers together. Then you have to provide some sort of analysis that you kind of know, but you kind of don't. So you're making that up and you put it together, and then you send it to somebody, usually somebody who is on your case every single week until you actually give it to them. Give me a report. Give me a report. Why are you giving me a report? Stop wasting time. Give me a report. Like, you have to do that. So you send it to them, and it's a big amalgamated report that gets sent to, you have no clue who. You don't think leadership even looks at all these metrics that you've been pulling, and it's one extremely large spreadsheet. I have yet to see it to work for any company that uses just Power BI, Tableau, whatever. It's usually an amalgamated spreadsheet from all the different sources. So it's like, that is the biggest manual task and the biggest waste of time for people at all. So why not just have essentially your Claude, whatever desktop, and ask your AI to go to all these places with an MCP server and extract all this, do the analysis, and even build you a report all at the same time. Why wouldn't you? it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't, right? So
true. I do have to say that description was oddly very specific, Carl.
it is specific because I had to deal with it like how many companies have I had to do this? And I was like, okay, what's this report doing? Doesn't matter. Just give me the numbers. It was literally that. Just give me the numbers. What numbers? All these places, all the things that you do, give me the numbers. I was like, okay, and put it in the spreadsheet. It's like, did you do it? And it's like, I haven't done it yet. Did you do it? No. Did you do it? No. Did you do it? No. I was like, geez, like, and I feel for that person because that person isn't just doing it to me, he's doing it to like 7 different people. And all those people we talk about is like, it's the most annoying thing every single month and quarter. And I'm sure every single company has some sort of thing they have to get to finish that report, right?
Yeah. There are people listening right now who feel a little called out about that and are excited about perhaps having an opportunity to solve it.
So anyway, so back to Cursor and Claude Code here. One of the things that is amazing about this is pretty simple, right? So as you can see, here is the environment. So what I want to do, just to start with, is I want to go, can you move the RFP Atlas example and the test RFP 1 documents into the test folder 2? So you can manipulate your files just by on command. So it's like, hey, I want to thinking and making sure it's doing the work, and then it will automatically move those 2 folders into that test folder. I don't know if you want to burn your tokens doing this, but how do you create? Yeah, you know what? Create a new folder. And you can have it create a new folder, do the analysis, and so on. Yes. And as you can see here, it created a test folder and your files are in there. Now, another thing you can do is in this folder, oops, I'm doing this. In this folder, there are a CSV and a skinnies PDFs. The instruction is go into the invoice consolidation folder. I want you to look at the invoice register list and the skinnies PDF. I want you to do an invoice consolidation and look up any discrepancies between the 2 documents. So review the invoices in the skinnies PDF and then compare them to the invoice register list and provide me a summary of any discrepancies. Okay. The tool that I'm using, by the way, to do that is Whisperflow. Fantastic tool. It's free, 2,000 words per week. Obviously, you can pay more, but usually I don't burn it, but it's pretty awesome. Yes, it is not part of Claude Code. But as you can see, you can do that. But I'll even show you a faster way of even doing that. But that's something that you can do in Claude Code. In your files, and I'm hoping people can now start.
Carl,
yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I get that in the last few minutes you've been using Whisperflow to type commands to Claude Code just by pressing a button, the Alt button on your keyboard, and then you speak, and then it types that out, whatever you said, and then you hit enter, and you're moving forward. And what you demonstrated right there was you can ask Claude Code to make moves in your files folder system, and that's useful. But is that really a primary use of Claude Code? Do you find yourself using it?
No, not like that. I just want to show you the part of the capabilities of that because one of our clients, and I harp on this one of their tasks, and it's kind of a lot, they have to go into hundreds of folders and look if a certain document is there That's one of the
I
tasks.
remember you telling us about this, and so yeah, I see that there might be some edge cases where you want to do that.
Yeah.
An important question in my mind is, can you automate that, or do you have to
Yes.
trigger it in Claude Code? So give us an idea of how you might set something up that's a command in Claude Code that kicks off such a set of instructions. So you have an instruction set that's behind that / command that will do that task that actually involves accessing and retrieving information and then putting information or moving information in your file system.
Well, there's two ways you can do that. The first is you can just tell Claude Code to do it. So you can say, hey, I want to do the specific task. What you really want to do is go into agents. And this is where Claude Code really shines. So in this environment, let's say I want to create an agent, and I want to create an agent just to do the invoice consolidation, right? So I would then create an agent for this particular project, and then you can do a manual configuration where you can type out, or talk out what you want it to do. I would just generate that. And then in this new agent, I would say, you are an invoice. I want to do invoice consolidation where you are reviewing a PDF of vendor invoice statements, and then compare it to a registry list of invoices for the month. I want you to review it accurately to ensure you can this is terrible, to identify any discrepancies between the vendor statement and the invoice registry. I would probably do
that
it
was
manually.
Carl. That was Carl again using WhisperFlow to create a new agent. And instead of typing that out, he was saying it out loud. And by the way, on the screen, for those who are just listening, as we move into this really important new section, which is about creating agents who can work on things just by hitting / and calling that agent, the Claude Code had created a table in its response stream that did that invoice comparison and found no discrepancies. So that was visible on the screen for those of you who are just listening on Spotify, for example.
Right. And in some ways,
so
this
as you can see here.
Cool. Go, Carl.
Oh, no, keep going back.
I was going to say, in some ways, this / and then naming the agent that you created is like using @ when you're in ChatGPT and being able to call a particular custom GPT, even though you're in a conversation with a different custom GPT or that kind of stuff. It's a similar kind of thing. It's a little package that has very specific information and tool access.
And once your agent is close to being created, you can give it tool functionality. So all tools, read-only tools, like depends on what you want your agent to do. So let's just say, let's give it all tools. I'm just gonna use it, and then you can color it. Let's say blue. So I now have, if you look on your left here, an invoice agent, as you can see, and this is the custom instruction that it built for me for that agent. And what you can do,
that's cool. So
pretty cool.
The thing you recorded in WhisperFlow is shown at the top of that, right? But Claude Code automatically created a structured prompt for what the agent should do to fulfill on what Carl just dictated. Amazing. It's a very, there's got to be 8 different separate sections in there, each with 4 or 5 bullet points, and that's a really nice result, which you did nothing to create,
but
right, other than give it a request.
But this is a consolidation of functions that the Anthropic system had. It's just pulling all of that into Claude Code, because you could always go to the console, put in your goal, and have the Claude console generate the prompt
Yeah.
for you, right? Like, or improve your prompt or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see it all come together, Carl.
So they built that
But
into
it's
Claude
even
Code so that when you make a request in the form of a text that is the creation of a new agent, it creates the prompt for that agent or workflow, if you will, that is now showing on the screen.
Well, you know what's even better though? This. I want you to create 2 agents. One, an email agent that helps me email clients, and then another agent that helps me do payroll consolidation. And then what's really cool, first of all, what's really cool with Whisperflow, it actually does the 1 and 2, which is if you do anything else, other like similar tools to Whisperflow could do this, but like a Siri or any kind of transcription tool doesn't do that. What's kind of neat about Claude Code is that you can have it build for you multiple agents. Yes. So you don't even have to go into agents. You can be like, Claude Code, I want you to build a whole bunch of agents for me and do whatever, right? So you can have a army. This is where you get into the army of agents that you can start building. And then on top of that, you can call these agents out. It's like, I want the invoice consolidation agent to review what's in this folder. And then with the results, I want the email agents, use the email agent to email the results to this. I want this agent to do this. I want this agent to do this. So you can have an army of agents and you just give the instructions what these agents will do. And I thought that is like a huge productivity unlock for a lot of people who are doing either repetitive tasks or just want multiple things of their day being done by these agents. And I know there's a video by I think it was Alex Finn was being interviewed by Peter Yang, talking about like his whole day is pretty much in Claude Code. So it's gonna create for me my email assistant. Yes. Then it has the payroll consolidation specialist. Yes. And as you can see here, now I have an email agent, invoice consolidation agent, payroll consolidation agent, which I can call on at any time.
And what you're what you're showing is in the left-hand panel where the file structure is, there are now new agent files that have been added, one for email client assistant and one for invoice consolidator, one for payroll consolidation.
Yeah.
All those were created in this session. And now, how do you invoke those agents?
So just by saying use the
and you don't even have to be precise, I'm guessing, when you ask it, use an agent. You can just say, use that agent that does such and such.
I would just be like, use the invoice consolidator agent to review what's in the invoice consolidation folder. Then I want you to use the email client assistant to send an email to Jeff, or draft an email to Jeff in my Outlook, the results, something like that. And then you would execute that. That's where the combination of the MCP and the agent and the folder. So as you can see now, you're starting to put like I was saying, a whole new way of working together, right? It's like, I have MCP to do certain tasks, but I also have Claude Code to have my sub agents to do other tasks, and I put them all together. So when people say, I can do a lot of work with agents, this is what you can do, work with agents and MCP all combined together. It just doesn't look pretty, but this is what you can do in your local drives too, right? So this is what I mean. It's like, and if you connect it to, if you have, let's say, your Dropbox, your SharePoint, or your Google Drive in your local drives, like in that sync, this can call it out too. So it can manipulate anything that's in your local network and your drives. It can go ahead and do it.
So Gwen was asking, like, do the agents live somewhere? Is there a list? Like, do you call them a particular way?
Yeah, you could just call them how they're named. So like this one was named email client assistant, invoice consolidator, payroll consolidator. But I asked Claude Code to name them. So I can, obviously I can just rename them
Right.
here. But
And
that's
it looks
how,
like,
yeah.
it looks like they're in a subfolder under agents. So if you wanted
Yes.
to know what had been created, you could just go look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl, can you?
So I know
one of the
yeah.
things I've heard from listening to some influencers promoting the use of Claude Code is that one of the steps in setup of Claude Code is the creation of your Claude.md file. And you have one there in your list, and it actually has the same icon as an agent. So it's like instructions for the overall Claude agent, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken.
Yes. 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 Good point. I nearly missed to talk about that. So it depends on what you want your Claude Code to be doing. In this case, it's very different than what most people do in terms of using Claude Code to code, right? So there's very specific Claude instructions. You can find this all over if you search for it. There's very specific Claude Code custom instruction when you're actually coding, where it actually breaks down task by task, feature by feature, validates itself. Like it's a pretty comprehensive command, like instructions. Obviously, in this case, this is not what I wanted to use it for, but it would always check this before executing, or it would always follow the command.
Right.
So
it's
if
like
you are
system
coding this,
instructions for Claude Code, right?
yes, yes, yes. Anyway, so I'm hoping today that with what I showed you is enough to get you thinking about potential productivity, business, personal use cases that you could start using Claude Code in, whether you code or you don't, or just for like a brand new way to work. And to me, combine it with Whisper Flow, I'm in the very early stages of literally telling my AI what to do for me in all sorts of manners. But there's still a lot of moving pieces that you have to put into it, right? We're not quite as Jarvis yet, but this is getting closer.
Gareth said he would love to see Carl's links to helpful resources. Do you have like a, we don't need to do it right now, but is that something you could
yeah, for sure.
Put together and maybe pop in the in the community Slack?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, like you can see here, draft email. Let's see. Yep, there it is. And it's pretty outstanding, right? To have something like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and we were just talking the other day that ChatGPT GPT-5 is like powerful but very difficult to control. Does not seem to have the sense of like, if you do exactly what I've asked, that's excellent. Claude is not that. Claude actually is able to follow the instructions and just write the email you asked.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I'll we go into that just for half a second. So I'm just going to exit this for 1 second. So I'm out of Claude Code. Now I can go Codex, and now I'm running Codex. The problem here, so I've approved it to work in this environment. Codex kind of works, but when we're looking at file manipulation, reviewing all that stuff, like file manipulation, moving files, folders, yes, it can do that. But when I started saying, hey, I want you to do an invoice consolidation, I wanted to test it. It took a really long time trying to read the Skinny's PDF. So I think it's more of like, but for coding specifically, when I used it, it is definitively better than Claude Code in terms of following my instructions and just doing things that I wanted to do versus not. Like, there's a reason why you have to put a Claude.md here, because it's it would do things on a whole rather specifically, but Codex would code more specific to the feature, and also the debugging is fantastic. So there's a lot of things that from a pure coding perspective, and it is using GPT-5 Codex, like it's specifically built for that, versus Claude Code, it's like it's able to do a lot more, but it's not as good from a coding perspective. Although, like you said, Andy, I haven't tested it fully with the new Sonnet 4.5, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
But you can do the same thing here.
And Gareth in chat is saying, check out Storm MCP, perhaps in the context of the security that we were talking about before.
Yes, there's a lot of them. I would highly recommend. And MCP Managers was just one. I will check out Storm MCP because I want to make sure, obviously, as clients get more and more comfortable, like some of our clients, once they see the actual, like once they've connected the dots, you're like, oh, I didn't know that with MCP and this, I can do this.
Right.
Now, most clients, I don't go into the Claude Code in your cursor because it just, that's so way above what people are thinking about. And it's kind of like, I have to install cursor. I have to call what's Claude Code. And then I'm in an environment that's not friendly. Like you're like, this is overwhelming for me. But for the very few, once I get them on it, it's like, it's a brand new unlock because it's like, wait a minute, I can do this, this, this. It's like, yes. Right. And I'm sure both of you can already start seeing, and those in our live audience, like, wait a minute, I can do a lot more.
Right.
And it's not just coding.
Right. And so like these might also be things that you, like a process that you would build in Ed8n that could do some of the commands that you're saying. It might be like the what you're setting as instructions for an email agent might be part of a node that was created in an automation. This is just a different way and a more interactive way for people who feel comfortable to be able to build something that really works for them. And locally, right?
Well, some people will just run with this. Yeah, well, sorry, say the last part.
I said, and locally, that this, if it's on it,
yes,
if you're not running Ed8n locally, then that's a cloud-based thing, but this is local.
This is purely local, and this is why, like, if you want to play with it first, put it in a test folder environment. Once you get comfortable, then it's like, hey, let's go. And you two can see, and I wish Junmi was here. It's like, you can see why this is a nightmare. This could potentially be a nightmare for like any IT professional. Like sometimes when I demo this, I'm specifically looking at the IT person's face just to be like, I want to see what you're thinking, and I want to see like if I'm breaking you down right now as I'm showing people that. I'm terrible, by the way. I was like, I'm just looking, it's looking and looking. And I'm like looking at the cybersecurity person, And sometimes I see it, their eyes are just like, the pupils are dilating, and I'm like, oh, there we go. That's the response we're looking for.
Start to be able to see all of the white around around the eye, like, oh, yeah.
I'm terrible. No, but some people are like, they get ideas too, because it's like Microsoft Copilot can't allow you to do this. Of course not. This is like where like AI really, really helps you out. Like this is where, you know, where we want to go. And this is why I think MCP or anything like it is so powerful, because of what it can do, and really pushing AI what it's supposed to do for you, than just using just normal Claude or ChatGPT to ask a bunch of questions and stuff.
Right.
Cool.
Well, this was
I know
great.
it's top of the hour, and yeah, hope people got a lot out of this. I really recommend you try it. Be damned your IT person. It's important. I think like you got to go do it. You got to try it. And if you get in trouble, well, point them to the show and be like, this is the person that got me in trouble.
The opinions that Carl is expressing about upsetting your IT are his personal opinions and do not represent the.
Does not represent anything. Yeah.
Hey, Carl,
okay.
thank you so much for doing this today. This was really helpful and an important familiarization for me. I've been intent, as you know, for many weeks on starting to use Claude Code. And now I have a much better visual on how to go about it. I really appreciate it.
Well, if you think about it, Andy, especially some of the things you're building, start thinking about, wait a minute, can I build multiple agents to do those things? And having Claude Code even build those agents for me, and then calling those agents whenever I need help or something. That was a great unlock too. It's like, wait a minute, I can just add Claude Code to build my agent that I need help with, and then I can call that agent whenever I want, which is like, oh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I look forward to trying it.
All right. That does it for today's show. So obviously tomorrow is our favorite AI stories of the week. You can continue on this conversation. I'll put the resources into the Daily AI Show community hub. And obviously we'll have some more AI news and topics and tools that we go over in our newsletter. So please subscribe to that. Other than that, thanks, Beth. Thanks, Andy, for joining me today. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Thanks, Carl.